Hi, this is Kevin Page here at the 43rd Annual Comto Convention here in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm here with Doris McMillon. She was just telling us a few stories about her life and we wanted to capture it on camera. Could you please introduce yourself? What's your title?
I'm Doris McMillon, accidental entrepreneur of McMillon Communications, author, speaker, writer, talker,
Interviewer?
interviewer. Yeah. No, I was just looking at you, Kevin, and I was saying, wow, he's got the same mannerisms as his dad, the Colonel, as we call him
Yes.
affectionately. And I know I'm an adopted child, and so all of my life I've spent a lot of time looking at families, looking at the resemblance, looking at the oneness, if you want to call it that, and always jealous. I said, I don't look like anybody. And then in 1981, when my mom died, who had adopted me, she and my dad were military, adopted me, I was able finally to find the resemblance. I met my mother, and then I met my birth father, and it was just so gratifying to say, oh, I belong. I look like somebody. And not to take anything away from my parents that adopted me, but this was very meaningful. It kind of closed the circle.
Right. Gave you a sense of understanding of your history.
Understanding, exactly. My mom and dad, the McMillons, are always going to be that. I could find, more mothers and fathers, but it was important for me just to have that sense of belonging and knowing. But it takes nothing away from my parents.
Right. I understand that you've written a book.
Yes, I wrote a book called Mixed Blessing, and it talks about the search for my biological parents. I was adopted from an orphanage in Germany. My mother was German, my father was an African-American GI. I always tell everybody they met during Oktoberfest, so I say it must be the beer, which is why I'm here.
Makes sense.
Unfortunately, they never married. My father was transferred out of Germany. And he came back to Germany in 1966 to see if he could find me, but my mother had put me up for adoption when I was 13 months. So the McMillons were stationed in Germany, and they could not have children. And they came to this Kinderheim where they kept children like myself. And they said, we want to adopt because we can't have children. And so in doing that, my father said they were walking down this row of cribs. He said, and he got to my crib, and I just kind of put my arms up. He said, "That's my baby." And so it's been very gratifying. In fact, in 2011, one of my colleagues, Regina Griffin, who was a producer for CBS, and I were talking, and I said, Regina, we've got to tell the story of the brown babies. Otherwise, it's going to go to the grave with us. And she said, well, I'm looking at a point in my life now where I want to do something that's meaningful. And so she produced the documentary Brown Babies, the Mischling's Kinder Story. So it tells the story of those of us who were born in Germany, whose mothers were German and fathers were African American, and what happened to us. The Germans didn't want us, the Americans didn't want us. We were like in no man's land. And what happened is there was a woman named Mabel Grammer who was married to a military officer, and they said, we need to help get these children out of Germany. And so she set up an impromptu adoption service, and it was in the Afro-American paper in Baltimore. And American families, African-American families, were adopting us, and that's how we were able to leave Germany. Now, I was not one of the Grammer children, but I'm thankful that my parents knew about us and said that they wanted to be a part of that. So here we are, an award-winning documentary telling our story. It will not go to the grave with us, and it's a slice of history that I think is very important that people need to know about.
Where can this documentary be seen?
If you want to have it screened, you need to go to brownbabiesfilm.com.
Okay.
And we're really targeting colleges and universities because we want the story to be told to our youth who don't know this part of our history. I go on speaking tours, telling the story and sharing my book, and there are a number of us, probably about 5,000 or 6,000 brown babies whose story we want to make sure is told.
That's great. So let me loop back just a second. You're here at the Comto convention. We've worked with some city interns. You've done some interviews for us. That's have all been great. We wanted to see where you fit in professionally with Comto. How has Comto affected you in the professional life?
It has always pleased me to be a part of the conference because I look at the story that needs to be told. I look at our interns who are coming in, who are exploring this world of transportation. I'm a firm believer that exposure is very, very key to knowing about opportunities and careers. Nobody ever talked to me about being in television, which is what I've done for the past 40 years. You know, I've been a news anchor, I've been a reporter, I've been a talk show host, I've done sports, and I've done weather. Every on-air job I've done. But had not someone talked to me about that industry, I don't know that I would have had an opportunity. And so I look at what Comto is offering our young people. They are opening doors of opportunity. They're giving them careers to think about that they might not have thought about. You know, they're engineers. They're looking at just different aspects of transportation. We all have to get around. We need a road to travel on, or we need a rail, or we need a bus. We need to be able to get from point A to point B, especially if we don't have a car.
Agreed.
And not everybody has a car. So, and especially if you're looking in the inner city, people really rely on public transportation. So now I look at the giants in the industry, they're getting older. And so they have to pass the mantle. Comto is opening doors of opportunity for people of color to be able to move from one place to another, to make sure that the infrastructure is what it ought to be. So I'm very thankful. I have been a part of Comto in terms of providing workshops. I look at our young people and I say, you know, you get the knowledge, which is very important, but there are certain things that you need to do to advance your personal self. So I deal with three things: how you look, how you sound, and what you say. People are judging you constantly in terms of how you look. Then they're listening to how you sound when you say what you say. And then you have to say something that has import and has weight. And so I like to work with our young people in those three areas. And I figure if we can develop them there, it will take them wherever they're going to go in life. And that's my job.
Perfect. Well, we thank you for your time. Please tell us how we can reach you.
You can reach me at McMillon Communications, and McMillon is spelled McMillon, communications with an S.com.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.